L'Jarius Sneed traded to the Tennessee Titans. The details of the deal is it's a third-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed. I think this is obviously a great trade for the Tennessee Titans, who have been really aggressive in free agency, overhauling that offense, additions such as Tony Pollard, Calvin Ridley, and then their center, so trying to beef up the offensive line a little bit, Lloyd Cushenberry. Then on top of that, they've already tried to add to their defense and their secondary, Chidobe Awuzie being added in the first wave of free agency, and then now bringing in a all-pro level corner in L'Jarius Sneed is bolstering it even further. And then right on the heels of that, we have a 4-year, $76.4 million deal being signed with the Titans. This ranks him as the sixth highest paid corner on a per year average, $19.1 million. And then the guarantees of $55 million is fourth highest. Drew, the L'Jarius Sneed trade, how do we feel about it on both sides, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tennessee Titans?
Isn't it a little crazy that they only got a third-round pick for this guy?
When we were just talking about, do you get a first for him? Do you get a second? What do you get for L'Jarius Sneed? And especially when you look at the other level of corners have been traded in the past, and you get in first-round picks or sometimes multiple first-round picks. This feels like a bargain deal to get a third for a guy like this.
And I'm like pounding the table, like Brandon Ayuk's worth a first round. Brandon Ayuk was worth a first round pick. And I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Y'all can get L'Jarius Sneed for a third. The thing about it is the Chiefs couldn't do the deal. They weren't going to sign him to this extension. Good amount of money, I think, for him. It's one of those rare trades where everybody knew he was being traded. Maybe the fact that you had to give him top corner money deflated his value a little bit. But just some of these corners that have been traded, some of the talks out of the Broncos camp last year on what Patrick P2 was going to command if he was traded at the deadline. And then you kind of look at something like this and you're just like, a hell of a deal for the Titans. And I mean, the third-round pick's nothing to scoff at. The Chiefs have needs all over the place, so it's not.
Yeah.
Chiefs have needs all over the place, even though they just won a Super Bowl. Fuck my life. I hate the Chiefs. So I think it's a good deal for both teams. I mean, we knew the Chiefs weren't going to keep him. Interesting landing spot for him with the Titans. Titans did a lot of good stuff this offseason, but they still got a massive question mark at quarterback. And obviously the departure of Derrick Henry is interesting for them also. So that the Titans are going to be an interesting team to keep our eyes on. I'm on the struggle bus so far. Titans are going to be an interesting team to keep our eyes on, just to see what they do this season, because they got some major concerns, but they also filled some major holes.
Yeah, the Indianapolis Colts were also reportedly interested in Sneed. They just could not get the deal done with that contract that was going to be done right on the heels of it. This feels like almost the same situation as like a T. Higgins thing. You could probably get a really high pick for T. Higgins, but the fact that he's going to want a deal as soon as he gets traded maybe is holding it back a little bit. And the Bengals don't want to just kind of give him away for, and I don't want to say give him away like L'Jarius Sneed was given away, but you still get a third-round pick for him. But at the end of the day, we were talking about maybe a first-round pick for L'Jarius Sneed, and he gets, again, given away for a third. When you look at the whole now for the Chiefs, obviously your star corner, your all-pro corner is McDuffie. Now I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, Trent McDuffie. I can remember, dude, I did the same thing you did. I remembered Washington, and I couldn't remember his name. Addressing the cornerback position, you could do it in a handful of ways. If you look at the free agent pool that's still around, you have Ahkello Witherspoon, Xavier Howard, Steven Nelson. I feel like Steven Nelson isn't a super great fit, and even Witherspoon, just because of the slot position that they play, while Xavier is playing on the outside. And then if you look at the draft, Ennis Rakestraw, TJ Tampa, Cam Hart, depending on how far Kool-Aid falls, he might even be available at that point too. Or Nate Wiggins, even though the comment section disagrees with the Nate Wiggins dropping that low. You're going to be able to fill this hole somewhere. We very rarely see the Kansas City Chiefs even going to the cornerback position in the first round, though. Obviously, their all-pro corner was the last time they did that. But Sneed, he was a late-round draft pick, and all these other guys are late-round draft picks. So do you see them turning towards the free agent market or the draft for their next corner?
I definitely don't see them spending the first round capital on it. I mean, if it's something they feel like they can, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on anything outside of really the top 100. So if there's something there that they think they can grab in rounds 4 and 5, sure. Obviously, we talked last week about Xavier Howard being a good landing spot for them. I think it's an interesting dynamic that the Chiefs could have paid Sneed the contract, eaten some of the money, and then got probably a first round pick for him, right? Like it's something they could have done. I think it kind of just goes to show you NFL teams and not valuing these draft picks as much as they did in the past. You see teams that are just willing to forfeit their draft picks over to try to go get these players now, which isn't something that happened and prior to the Rams giving everything up for Ramsey and giving everything up for Matt Stafford and all that kind of stuff. So maybe to them, the cap space flexibility was way more important than getting a first versus a third. Especially, we hear a lot with these draft guys where they say, well, there was only 15 first rounders this year. We only had a first round grade on 15 guys. Now there seems to be about 15 tackles and corners that are first round grades this year. So it does seem to be. But if you go down to the rest of that top 100 and you look at the tackles that are available in rounds 2 and 3, and you look at some of the wide receivers that are available in rounds 2 and 3, a third round pick this year, you might get a starter at the wide receiver position this year with a third round pick. So it's still a valuable pick for them, and it fills a need. So I don't hate it. I'm just I was surprised that he didn't command more because I thought he would.
And you look at what they need and what's available. I'm looking over at my phone right now at my big board, and I have 21 wide receivers in the top 100. I have 13 offensive tackles, and I have 14 corners. It just goes to show you. I mean, those are a couple of needs that they could draft with a third round pick, and you have again some of the most available guys. I mean, even if they want to go edge rusher, I have 12 edge rushers on my list as well. So again, a lot of availability it's a very deep class, and this is a good year to need any one of those positions. And Chiefs, they need some of those guys. So the third round pick can produce a quality starter in the future for sure.
Especially when you got a player like a TJ Tampa or a Max Melton that was talked about early on in the college season as could this guy make it to the first round? And obviously they've fallen out a little bit. But when you're talking about guys that are in the 50 to 80 pick range, that's when teams really start going to look at fit and need versus BPA, best player available. And there's players that'll slide, Of course, there's the players that go up they fly up the draft board every year. I'm a big fan of the I'm going to do it. The guard, what's his name? For the Huskies, what's his name? I'm going to look it up just so I can't start the podcast off like this. So I'm just going to look up his name. But
the guard or the tackle who might be a guard?
It's UConn. It's not the Washington Huskies. Christian Haynes.
Okay.
Christian
Haynes, yeah.
He's
my number one guard. Yeah,
I'm a big fan of him, right? And I'm like, could the Niners get this guy in the third round? It's like with Cole Strange a couple years ago, and the Patriots like, we're going to take him. I'm like, all right, well, I wouldn't take him that high, but there's a lot of these guys that I start fixating. I spend a lot of time drafting Christian McCaffrey's brother and Frank Gore's son, and Jerry Rice's son to the Niners for fun. But there's a lot of these guys that I start fixating on because we got a lot of third and fourth round picks. And I'm just like, that'll be perfect. Yeah, that'll be perfect. Yeah, that'll be perfect. When in reality, they probably won't even be there. So there's a lot of talent in this draft. And if you're a casual, I'm a casual. Jacob's not really a casual. But if you're a casual and you don't do much research outside of like the top 60, top 70 guys, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to surprise you this football season with production and how good they are, because this is a really, really good draft in the top 100, 120.
Yeah, it really is. Especially those positions already named off on a little bit earlier. I'm a huge fan of when I say there's 12, 15 tackles, right? What was it? 13 tackles. I'm a huge fan of 10 of those tackles. I mean, all the way down to Kingsley Sumatia is my 10th tackle, but I really like Kingsley Sumatia. So we're talking about quality guys who I'm a big fan. I mean, the cornerback position, I think I have high esteem for everybody up to TJ Tampa, and that's my 10th. He's my 10th corner. I have other guys higher on my list that might not be as high. Cam Hart, Jerrion Jones, a couple of those guys who I have higher. Super high esteem for me, maybe not for other people, but good quality down the later board for positions that are needed in the NFL, right?